right, so you're scrolling Airbnb looking for that perfect place to stay, and boom, you notice it's way more expensive than it used to be.
Please get a doctor.
Across the country, Airbnb hosts are quitting, and it's not a fluke, it's a wave. So today, we're breaking down why short-term rentals are collapsing in some markets, what it means for home buyers, sellers, and investors, and where real estate might be headed next. Let's break it down.
You saw the title right. I'm quitting Airbnb. No, it's not clickbait. It just doesn't make sense anymore.
And she's not alone. Hosts everywhere are realizing the math on Airbnb just doesn't pencil out anymore, especially with all the new regulations coming down.
But something changed recently, and it is the nail on the coffin for Airbnbs in California.
It's a new bill that's introducing an additional 15% tax anytime you go to book an Airbnb in California.
It's called SB 584, and they're rushing to get this into effect by 2025.
So this is a big deal because anytime you go to book a hotel or a short-term rental, you're already taxed a transient occupancy tax, and it's usually around 10%. It's a little different in each city. You can see it's usually 10%. And this new unprecedented tax is on top of the transient occupancy tax.
You heard that right, 15% extra layered onto the normal transient occupancy tax, which is already about 10% in most cities, meaning some Airbnb guests will pay nearly 25 to 30% just in taxes. Hotels, still just the basic occupancy tax. Airbnb's biggest selling point, better value, is evaporating fast.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
First, we need to look at how this affects if you were to book my house.
Right now in November, it's kind of the slower season, so it's $575 a night. You end up paying $328 in taxes, so the reservation total is around $3,300. Now in 2025, when this whole thing goes into effect, it's gonna make it so that the taxes you pay are $749. So the total reservation goes from $3,300 to $3,745. The amount that you're paying in taxes is now more than the amount that you'd be paying for one night staying here. That's crazy.
Imagine paying more in taxes than you pay for a night in the actual house.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
If you're a group of friends visiting Palm Springs, why would you ever pick Airbnb over 2 hotel rooms? This is basic economics. When staying at a hotel saves you hundreds, Airbnb demand drops like a rock.
I think it'll just make it too tough to compete with hotels.
But I'm actually not selling my house.
I came up with a different plan for a number of reasons, and that is to turn it into a long-term rental. That is my plan in 2025. I'm 99% sure at this point that that's what I'm gonna do, although I will take the first month or two of the year and see how it is. I'll see if people are still booking, but I just don't think it makes sense.
This is the big pivot we're going to see everywhere. Smart hosts, especially ones with great properties and low mortgage rates, are ditching short-term rentals for long-term tenants. Think about it. No constant turnover, no crazy utility bills, no booking platform fees, and no more worrying about vacancies. It's stable cash flow, and in today's market, that wins.
I actually met one of my neighbors recently, and he told me that he turned his Airbnb into a long-term rental, and he's making more. He's making more because you don't have to pay all the expenses. You don't have to pay for the utilities, Simply Safe, YouTube TV, the insane electric bill, the gas bill. Instead, the tenant pays for what they want and what they use. And the mortgage for my house right now, it's $3,200 a month. And Redfin and Zillow think I could rent this long-term for $6,200 a month. So if you guys haven't followed along with the Airbnb journey, you know I'm just barely breaking even. So to be making $2,000 a month in cash flow, now I'm skeptical if that's actually possible, but we'll see. That would be way better than doing Airbnb.
Exactly. Short-term rentals come with hidden costs nobody talks about. When you cut those expenses out and when nightly rates are falling anyway, long-term renting becomes a no-brainer. And for buyers, as more former Airbnbs get sold or rented long-term, we could see inventory tick up in certain vacation markets, giving buyers new opportunities they haven't had in years.
The tax money is to go towards building affordable housing units.
Currently, the city only spends $3 million of their budget on an affordable housing reserve. Most of the money goes to general government and the police.
It all sounds really great in theory, but will it actually work?
This is the million-dollar question. Everyone agrees we need more affordable housing, but historically, California's problem hasn't been funding, it's been zoning, building restrictions, and bureaucratic red tape. Slapping huge taxes on short-term rentals without fixing the real supply issues won't magically solve affordability.
Short-term rentals are a relatively new thing, and we've had an affordable housing problem long before short-term rentals.
Yes, short-term rentals didn't cause the housing crisis, and getting rid of them isn't going to fix it either. Markets like Palm Springs, Joshua Tree, Sedona, Miami, they have deep structural affordability issues. Yes, regulating short-term rentals will free up some homes, but without serious new construction, it's just a Band-Aid. So where does all this leave us? If you're an Airbnb host in high regulation markets, long-term rental strategies might be your safest play. If you're a buyer, keep an eye out, especially in second home markets, because more inventory might slowly unlock. And if you're an investor, you got to be strategic. You got to run the numbers differently, and you got to be ready for a very different landscape. So what's happening in your city? Are you seeing fewer Airbnbs? Are people pivoting to long-term rentals? Drop a comment below, especially if you're an agent, an investor, or former host. And if this breakdown gave you some new insight, can you drop an elbow off the top ropes on that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Breakdown.